He was never the loudest player on the pitch, not a star of the headlines, not the face of advertising. And yet, step by step, he earned a place in the history of Brazilian football. From Campos dos Goitacazes to the country's biggest stadiums, from Corinthians to the national team, from Europe to China. A career built on consistency, discipline, and decisions that changed everything. Today, we tell the story of Gil. But how does a boy from humble beginnings reach the top without much of a stir? Carlos Gilberto Nascimento Silva comes from Campos dos Goitacazes, a city far from the spotlight of Brazilian football. His childhood was marked by humble circumstances, and it soon became clear to him that football had to be more than just a dream. It was a way to escape the preordained path. His development began at Rio Branco, his hometown club. There, Gil didn't stand out for elegance, but for physical strength, discipline, and an unusual seriousness on the field, qualities that earned him attention early on. At 17, he moved to Americano. Initially, he played in defensive midfield, where he impressed with his tackling strength. But then came the decisive moment. Coach Paulo Marcos decided to move him back into central defense, a simple change that changed everything. Gil adapted immediately. He gained confidence, developed composure in his game, and took on responsibility. A midfielder became a center back with a clear role. At Americano, he turned professional and laid the foundation for his future career. But was this first step already the breakthrough, or was the greatest challenge still ahead? The move to Atlético Goianiense marked the first major turning point in Gil's career. In July 2008, he arrived as a reinforcement for the rest of the season and didn't take long to establish himself. With composure, physical presence, and personality, he quickly secured a regular spot. Gil became a mainstay of the team. His consistency and defensive reliability were crucial for winning the Série C title of the Brazilian Championship. This performance brought him nationwide attention for the first time and put him on the radar of larger clubs from Série B and A. In 2009, Atletico decided to fully commit to him and signed him permanently. During this phase, Gil experienced one of his best seasons. He was voted the best center back of the Campeonato Goiano and was now considered one of the most promising defenders in the country. The unassuming defender from the interior had become a name taken seriously in Brazilian football. But was Atlético Goianiense already the peak of his development, or was the door now opening to an even larger stage? After 2 strong seasons at Atlético Goianiense, things started moving behind the scenes. Gil was signed by an investment group, registered at Aparecida, and immediately loaned to Cruzeiro. For him, this meant the next step up. In August 2009, he was officially presented at Cruzeiro. Initially, he patiently built his place in the squad, but with consistent performances, he gained increasing trust. In the 2010 season, Gil was part of the team that finished as runners-up in the Brazilian Championship. His performances were understated but reliable. It was exactly this consistency that made him one of the most stable center backs in Brazilian football at that time. Step by step, his reputation grew, not only nationally but also internationally. Finally, in August 2011, the big opportunity arrived. The French club Valenciennes signed Gil for around €3 million. Recommended by former national defender Claudio Caçapa, he arrived with the task of replacing Milan Bischovac. In September, he made his debut in League One, and thus began his European stint. Further proof that a player from the Brazilian interior could reach the big stages without much fanfare. But was Europe just a chapter of his career, or was the best yet to come? The move to Corinthians at the beginning of 2013 marked the most important chapter in Gil's career. Signed for around €3 million, he arrived at the Joaquim Grava training center with high expectations. On the pitch, he responded immediately. Right from the first matches, he took on the role of a regular starter and impressed with his reliability, understanding of the game, and remarkable composure. In the same year, Gil won the Campeonato Paulista and the Recopa Sudamericana. His consistency quickly made him a permanent pillar of the defense. Within a few months, he reached the milestone of 50 appearances and showed how perfectly he had adapted to the club's playing style. He maintained this level in the following years. In 2014, he scored his first goal for Corinthians and played his 100th match. In 2015, he reached 150 appearances and was a key figure in securing the Brazilian Championship title early. At that time, Gil was considered one of the best center backs in the country. After the sporting peak, the move to China followed in 2016. But even after this phase, his story at Corinthians was not over. Was this farewell truly final, or was another chapter waiting? After the peak at Corinthians, Gil moved to China in 2016. Shandong Taishan invested around 10 million euros and offered him one of the highest salaries of his career. He stayed there until 2019, gaining international experience and achieving financial stability. Eventually, the club and player agreed to terminate the contract. In July 2019, Gil returned to Corinthians. The return was received like the homecoming of an idol. Despite an initially short contract, he immediately took on responsibility again. He once again became the defensive reference and reached historical milestones, including nearly 400 games for the club. Between 2019 and 2023, his name stood for leadership, consistency, and identification with the club. At the end of 2023, his contract was not renewed. This officially ended one of the longest and most consistent defensive careers in recent club history, but his career was not yet finished. In December 2023, Gil signed with Santos. Despite initial doubts, he quickly established himself. He debuted in January 2024 and became a regular starter. In the 2024 season, he played almost every game, always as the leader of the defense. These performances led to a contract extension until the end of 2025. In August 2025, however, a mutual contract termination occurred. A few weeks later, on September 18, 2025, Gil retired at the age of 38. A career marked by hard work, consistency, and respect had come to an end. But what really remained after all those years on the pitch? When talking about Gil's career, the financial aspect cannot be separated from his sporting consistency. Over the years, he turned stability on the pitch into long-term and lucrative contracts. The financial peak came in 2016 in China when he signed with Shandong Taishan. There, he received a monthly salary of around 400,000 euros, about 2 million reais, which placed him in a rare financial category for Brazilian defenders. Even after his return to Brazil, Gil remained a player with a high market value. At Santos, he earned around 350,000 reais per month between 2024 and 2025, with a contractually fixed increase to about 500,000 reais in case of promotion to Serie A. It was precisely these sums that later made continued cooperation difficult and eventually led to the mutual separation. Through these contracts, supplemented by investments outside of football, Gil built a solid fortune, currently estimated at around 50 million reais. A large portion of this was invested in real estate. In his hometown of Campos dos Goitacazes, he owns a luxurious villa with modern architecture, spacious rooms, and a complete leisure area. The estimated value is about 17 million reais. His choice of vehicles also reflects this standard of living. Gil was seen several times with a Range Rover Evoque and owned other high-end vehicles over the years. But all this is just the outward result of a long, disciplined career. Today, Gil lives far from the spotlight. His story shows that even without a massive media presence, you can be one of the most reliable players of a generation. With consistency, professionalism, and smart decisions, he built not only a respected career but also a stable life after football. Was Gil perhaps so great precisely because he never had to be loud? Gil was never the loudest name in football, but one of the most consistent. His career proves that discipline, patience, and clear decisions often count more than fame and headlines. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more portraits of such silent greats of football. Tell us in the comments, which moment of Gil's do you remember most?